Hi, welcome back. Part 1 was the baseline. Fixed windows, overlap, recursive splits. Cheap, predictable, easy to benchmark. Part 2 went smarter. Layout-aware chunking when structure lives in headings, tables, and reading order, and semantic boundaries when topics shift without a visual break. Part 3 is where most production stacks get finished, not just where you cut, but what you store and retrieve with each piece. Parent-child hierarchies, small chunks for search, bigger spans for context at prompt time. Contextual retrieval, frame each chunk before you embed it. Late chunking, vectors that still know the surrounding section. Metadata per chunk, filters, routing, citations, hybrid stacks teams actually ship. And how to evaluate what's worth the complexity on your corpus. Same question as always. What's the smallest piece you're willing to retrieve? And does it still mean the right thing when it lands in the prompt? Let's go. If this helped, like and subscribe. It pushes the lessons to people who actually care about the topic, and you'll catch the next videos in this series. It costs you nothing, but it means a lot to me and my team. If something clicked or you have a question, leave a comment with your use case. I read comments, and they steer what I publish next. To learn more about me, visit this page. For agents, RAG, MCP, and related pages, visit this page. Same links are below in the description and pinned comment. Huge thanks. Your attention makes the work worth it for me and everyone behind the channel. Hierarchical, parent, child. Chunking. You often want two things at once, small chunks for precise search and enough surrounding text for the model to understand. Hierarchical chunking indexes at two levels. Child, small retrieval unit, paragraph, block, few sentences. What you embed in search, parent, larger span, section, page, doc block. Link to each child for rehydration at prompt time. Search hits the needle. The model sees more of the haystack. Example, a 20-page manual. Children are approximately 200 token paragraphs. Parent is the full Chapter 4 troubleshooting section. Retrieval returns one paragraph. Augment pulls in the parent section or a trimmed parent, so steps and definitions stay together. Why people use it. Very common in production. Fixes, retrieval found the right sentence, but the model lacks context. Works well with layout-aware or recursive splits upstream. Trade-offs. More index metadata and wiring. Parent IDs. Fetch rules. Token budget when expanding parents. Risk of overstuffing the prompt if parents are huge. Rule of thumb, default pattern when evals show good hit, incomplete answer. Store metadata. Parent_ID, heading path, page. So expansion is deterministic, not guesswork. Hierarchy solves search versus context. Next, contextual retrieval. Attach a short where this belongs. Label to each chunk before embedding, so isolated sentences still search well. Contextual retrieval. A small chunk can be correct locally and useless globally. Same sentence means different things in different docs. Contextual retrieval prepends or attaches a short synthetic context to each chunk before embedding. Which document? Which section? What problem it answers? So the vector carries more than the isolated line. You're indexing chunk plus framing, not the naked snippet alone. Example, raw chunk. Refunds are available within 30 days. Contextualized for embedding. From Enterprise Billing Policy V4, Section 3.2 refunds. Refunds are available within 30 days. Search for Enterprise Refund window lands on the right policy, not a random 30-day mention elsewhere. Why people use it? Strong when chunks are short, repetitive, or ambiguous. Policies, SKUs, error codes, FAQ one-liners across many products. Trade-offs, extra LLM or template step at ingest. Anthropic-style contextual retrieval uses a model to write the prefix. Re-embed when context logic changes. Long prefixes eat token budget inside the chunk window. Rule of thumb, Pair with small child chunks or hierarchical indexing. Context helps retrieval. You may still rehydrate parent text at augment time for the full answer. Contextual retrieval enriches what you embed. Next, late chunking. Flip the order. Encode longer text first, then derive chunk vectors with fuller document context. Late chunking. Most pipelines cut first, embed second. Each chunk is encoded in isolation, so vectors can miss broader context from the rest of the page or section. Late chunking flips that order in spirit, run a longer span, section, page, even full doc within model limits, through the encoder once, then derive vectors for subspans from that shared representation, so chunk embeddings are conditioned on surrounding context, not only the local window. Example: a dense technical paragraph gets hard split early. A definition and its caveats land in separate chunks and search poorly. Late chunking encodes the whole section first, then pools vectors for each segment. The 30-day refund span still knows it lives under enterprise billing policy. Why people use it? Useful for technical prose, legal text, long sections where early hard splits mangled meaning. Related family to contextual retrieval, different mechanism, same problem. Isolated snippets search badly. Trade-offs. Needs an embedding stack that supports it. Not every model/API does. More complex ingest, higher compute on long inputs, still bounded by context length. Less of a drop-in splitter than recursive or fixed size. Rule of thumb. Consider when evals show good chunks on paper, weak vectors in practice, especially after you've already fixed layout and boundaries. Often a refinement layer, not where you start. That covers the core ingest time patterns. Next, we can wrap with metadata per chunk, hybrid combinations, or how to pick and evaluate a strategy on your corpus. Metadata per chunk chunking isn't only where you cut. It's what you attach to each piece. Metadata per chunk means every segment carries structured fields alongside the text. Source ID, path or URL, page or offset, heading path, product, tenant, ACL, version, timestamps, whatever your retrieval and prompts need later. At search time, filters and routing often matter as much as cosine distance. Example: same text, reset password via SSO in product A versus product B docs. Without metadata, vectors collide. With product underscore ID plus doc underscore version on each chunk, you filter to the right corpus before top K. Why people use it? Multi-tenant apps, versioned policies, regional docs, anywhere scope is part of the answer. Also powers citations, source underscore ID, section title, without guessing. Trade-offs. Metadata must be correct at ingest. Stale ACL or wrong version looks like the model forgot. Schema discipline up front saves pain downstream. Rule of thumb. Decide metadata when you design chunk boundaries, not after the index ships. Child parent and layout-aware chunking naturally produce rich heading paths. Use them. Conclusion. So that's the production finish. Parent-child hierarchies, contextual retrieval, late chunking, and metadata per chunk. Part 1 gave you cheap baselines. Part 2 respected structure and meaning at split time. Part 3 is what happens after the cut. Search the small piece, rehydrate the parent, frame what you embed, and filter on metadata at query time. Same sentence, different product, different policy version. Scope is part of the answer. Remember, these patterns stack. Layout or semantic upstream, small children for retrieval, parents or contextual prefixes for vectors, metadata for routing. Not one checkbox, the through line across all three parts. What's the smallest piece you're willing to retrieve? And does it still mean the right thing when it lands in the prompt? Chunking is where you encode your information architecture into the index. In Part 4, we wrap the series. Hybrid stacks teams actually ship and how to evaluate what's worth the complexity on your corpus. Thanks for watching Part 3. If the series is helping, like and subscribe, and drop a comment with what you're indexing. I read them, and they steer what I publish next.